Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. The season has officially arrived. Tonight, we are previewing the Penn State football season with the only way we know how, talking about Penn State Creamery ice cream flavors. We will talk about the latest in the James Franklin press conference from this morning. And we will wrap up with some bold predictions and our season predictions for 2025. Let's get right into the show. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Shawn. With me, as always, and almost not at all, Sean Kane. How you doing today, Sean?
Not too bad, Cory. Season preview, always one of our better shows in my view.
Yes.
So I was just on the Lockdown Penn State Football podcast with Zach Sako. That'll be up soon. It was good. It was good. And at the beginning of the show, I recommend everybody listening. He actually did a little bit of an imitation of you, Cory, like saying Sean Kane. It wasn't the same, but he did give it the old college try. So we got to appreciate that. That means he's a true listener, which I loved.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Welcome to Elise watching live on YouTube. Thanks for being here. That's pretty cool. I'm excited about it. I will be also joining Zach at some point, I think later this week. So excited to hop on there. We're doing a little home and home. Zach will be on our podcast on Wednesday for the Nevada preview, which will turn into a little bit more of kind of what he sees at practice, because Zach will be at practice on Wednesday as well. So
yes, I want to talk to you about that after the show.
Uh-oh.
He will still be on, though. He will still be on, but just
will you still be on?
I will. I got nothing better to do.
Okay. You scared me for a
comment or anything.
Yeah, good. Good. Let's make sure we keep our priorities straight here. Well, welcome in. James Franklin had his weekly press conference, which that's where we're at this point of year. We're at the point of the weekly press conferences. I'm actually at home this week, so we actually have good lighting. We're off to a great start here. Sean, I think it might have been one of, if not the best James Franklin weekly Monday press conference we've ever had. As far as information obtained, we learned all sorts of stuff that I was fairly impressed with. Like, sometimes you get a nugget or two, but usually it's not anything crazy. Today we got a ton of information.
We did. We even got a position battle won by somebody nobody thought was going to win it.
And that's something.
In Anton Belgrave Shorter.
Well, Sean, to be fair, you thought that was potentially going to be.
You
thought he was going to be pretty good. So we have to give you some.
I did think he was going to be good. I did not think he'd be starting this year, though. So I wasn't that bullish on him. But big shout out to him. Like, I felt like. And then I listened to Franklin's explanation. He led the team in turnovers in camp. Yeah. And we know that they value the turnover king. And I think safety, little bit of a question mark. I feel like less so than a couple other spots. But again, kind of a similar thing to the defensive line in that there's a lot of unproven guys there. But I think everybody, us included, we're putting Dejon Lane, King Mack above Belgrave Shorter. Belgrave Shorter is kind of seen as a guy that maybe could succeed Zakee Wheatley in a year, but I don't think anybody really thought that he'd be starting opposite Zakee Wheatley. I thought, maybe we might see him a little bit this year, but not in a starter's role.
No, and I went back and watched that video of you and PSU Dillon from 2023, which crazy that was from 2023, but it was so you guys were talking about John Mitchell, who John Mitchell is now transferred out and is at Georgia Tech. But I was just like, you guys hit it on the money. Like, we thought at that time that ABS was going to be just as good as John Mitchell. And here we are. John Mitchell's transferred and ABS is at least going to head into Nevada week 1 as a starting safety for Penn State.
Yeah. I'm a real oracle. But you gotta be happy for a guy that kind of grinded and did the work behind the scenes, And within 2 years, as a starter. And I was just saying to Zach on the last podcast, like, to win a natty, like, we had all the stars and everything, but it's got to be these younger guys, not just the freshmen, but these second-year guys that are going to have to step up and make plays. Because if they don't, we ain't winning them. But if they do, yes, this is absolutely a team that could win this, that could win it all and make all our dreams come true.
Yeah. So just to be very clear here, James Franklin announced that Antoine Belgrave Shorter was going to be the starter opposite Zakee Wheatley, just to make it as clear as possible. He was asked specifically about that. Other notes, most importantly, if you've been keeping track on Twitter, we are up to bumps and bruises count 3. So I am including the PSU Dillon one because in my kind of view now, PSU Dillon's doing a lot of stuff with state media and is doing stuff with James Franklin and the recruits. So I'm just going to say that he's now part of the Penn State staff, and his bumps and bruises count towards our total count. So bumps and bruises count is officially 3. We had 2 during this press conference as far as bumps and bruises go. The first one, Franklin confirmed that wide receiver transfer from Troy, Devontae Ross, did have some bumps and bruises in the summer, but he's now better. So we'll never know what that is unless Devontae Ross decides to release a memoir in 10 years. But more importantly, he said that Ross would get the start and he would probably be backfilled and rotate with my favorite player on the team, wide receiver Liam Clifford. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a tease right there as far as Ross being healthy and all that. So it's good to see Ross is healthy there. The other one that I think we'll probably get to later in the show or talk a little bit more about was Zariah Fisher. He said something interesting about Zariah Fisher, defensive end Zariah Fisher. Fisher coming back from a leg injury almost over a year. I don't know exactly when that happened now. A year and a half? I don't know. I feel like it's been a while. Not a year and a half, but
he missed a while. Year, so
yeah. Kind of hinted that maybe he wasn't 100% yet, that he was still working back from it. Sean, you and I guess wrongfully, made the assumption that, well, I can see 10 times better for people that are watching live and watching me clean my glasses. We kind of made the assumption that Zariah Fisher was going to be 100% starting the year. That does not appear to be the case, which we penciled him at most likely starting or at least contributing heavily. Just opens up that room even more, which we'll get to what he said about the freshman in a second. But that to me, just looking in without hearing any more context from James Franklin, scares me a little bit about the defensive end position. Already sort of light there. We'll get into the position battle specifically or the position depth when we talk about the Penn State creamer ice cream flavors in regards to every position group and the depth that it presents. But you got to be a little nervous now that a guy that we are hoping to rely upon maybe isn't exactly where they want him to be as we head into September.
Yeah, my alarm bell started going off as soon as I heard him talk like Zariah Fisher. And he didn't really even say, like, I don't even know if he used the term bumps and bruises. He was just like, he's coming back. And it's like, why are you talking? Why are you talking like this is like spring practice? And maybe he'll be okay. Like he's working through something. And we all know Franklin is iffy about giving any kind of nuggets on injury, but that did make me nervous. And just because we're going to, who's going to start if Zariah Fisher is not there? I guess Harvey, maybe, and nothing against those young guys, but we've never seen them play football before. So that's a concern.
We're going to talk a lot about the position depth and Franklin spoke a little bit about that more than just that. Before we get to the green light stuff, I want to mention one other guy.
Can I talk a little bit about Ross?
Yeah, you can talk more about Ross. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, like with Ross too, like I think you're going to be seeing a heavy dose of your guy, Liam Clifford, in these first 3 games.
Yay.
I get, and Zach said it looks like the top of his arm is wrapped. Devontae Ross's. So, I mean, who knows with that? That obviously it seems like he's dealing with some kind of upper arm injury, and those could linger. We saw with Tony Rojas dealt with it all last year. And I think the tricky part with a guy like Ross being hindered is he's the only guy that really does what he does out of those top 6 guys that Franklin mentioned today. Him, Tysier Denmark, Hudson, Kobe Howard, Liam, and who's the other guy? I knew I'd forget. Pena. Like he's like that guy that has that short area quickness that we just don't have to replace this year.
No.
So hopefully he's okay, but he is practicing, so that's a good sign.
Said he'll be ready to go, so we'll see. Just maybe won't play as much. Just to continue on the receiver conversation there. Straight up, I think Daniel Gallen asked the question, just straight up, like, who are the receivers? Daniel Gallen, been on the beat a little bit longer now, starting to know how to ask James Franklin the right questions, and asked the wide receiver question, I thought, marvelously, as far as how to get things out of James Franklin without him just shutting you down. And so Franklin straight up basically said that Kyron Hudson is a starter, Trevor Pena is a starter, Devontae Ross is a starter, and then Hudson's backed up by freshman wide receiver Kobe Howard. Pena is backed up by redshirt freshman Tysier Denmark, which I feel like he played a lot to conserve his redshirt, but that's impressive. And then Devontae Ross backed up by Liam Clifford. He said those are kind of the 6 that they're going to go to war with. So take that for what you will. I think that's about what we expected, Sean. I think the only surprise there would be Kobe Howard and what he's been able to do. In fact, we'll talk about the green light guys. Well, we can transition to the green light conversation now. He mentioned 2 guys were green lit, and there's a couple yellow guys that they wanted to see some more consistency with. Kobe Howard, if Kobe Howard's in the 2 deep at a position, like he's going to play more than 4 games. Franklin specifically mentioned being a little bit better on special teams and being able to help block and do those kind of things that a all-star, high school recruit is not doing those sort of things during high school games because he's usually the one with the football. So getting a little bit better there, getting a little more consistent there is what's holding Kobe back. That sounds like coach speak to me, because if Kobe Howard's making plays on the field, you're not taking him off the field, or you're not going to prevent the burning of his red shirt just because he can't block on kickoff. You'll figure out someone that can do that if he's making plays and you need some sort of production at wide receiver, especially after what's happened the last couple of years. Franklin will get run out of town if he does not burn a red shirt of a promising wide receiver just because he's not blocking very well on kickoff or punt.
Yeah. Imagine if we were playing him and they asked Franklin, he'd be like, well, he's just not a very good gunner right now. I think State College would burn down.
Yeah. Something Joe Paterno would say, honestly. Like, yeah, he's doing pretty good, but like he's not doing great as the first row of the kickoff team. Like,
yeah, like imagine that. And I just found it bizarre because he kept talking about it too. Especially, he kept like in that Kobe Howard answer, he just kept going back to special teams. So it's probably some kind of motivational thing just to make him a more well-rounded player. But I would be shocked if Kobe Howard didn't burn his red shirt. I mean, I was pretty surprised Tysier Denmark didn't last season, but I think they internally feel better about Kobe Howard than they did about Tysier Denmark, partly because Kobe Howard's been there since January, where Denmark came in the summer.
That's a great point. I was going to ask you about wide receivers, but we'll wait until we get to the position group stuff to talk about that. I mentioned 2 other players were greenlit. I would say one was a surprise. One we were kind of expecting ever since he was in high school. The expected one was cornerback Darius Dixon, 5-star kid from the West Coast that was probably one of the crown jewels of the last class. So not not crazy surprising there. Probably the most surprising thing about that is just how much depth we have at corner, and Darius Dixon's still going to be greenlit. So I think that is probably the most surprising part. Even though we have a lot of depth, Darius Dixon's still going to be on the field.
Yeah, it says a lot about him, right? And I think in the past, just with I feel like Franklin always does a pretty good job stocking up the cornerback room, but he'd probably be starting on some teams that Penn State has had in the past. He'd probably be starting on a lot of Big Ten teams now. So I think it just speaks to him and him being as prepared as he is. So you just look at his physical build and everything. He's gonna be a baller here, no doubt about it.
And speaking of baller, because he played basketball in high school, Chaz Coleman, also greenlit officially, the defensive end. Makes a little bit more sense now that we know that Zariah Fisher might have some bumps and bruises that he's working through. But Chaz Coleman coming out of complete left field. I mean, again, it hasn't really played the defensive end position very much, but from a raw athleticism ability is turning heads inside of the Lash building. And so Chaz Coleman, I mean, it went from, I thought you and I might consider that guy as a breakout player for this year. I feel like that's like low-hanging fruit now. I feel like you can't even choose him because of, some of the injuries they've had before the season even started. And then now some people are still working their way back from injury. Chaz Coleman not only may play a ton in these first 3 games.
I think he's going to play a ton in these first 3 games. I don't think there's much of a question about that. I think by the Oregon game, he's going to burn his red shirt because it sounds like he's part of that four-ish deep that they have. And Franklin was just effusive with his praise last week of Chaz Coleman in a way that you don't really hear him talk about true freshmen. And again, I'm kind of similar to what I felt about Darius Dixon. Darius Dixon reclassified as well. Now, this was a couple of years back, but just see these guys just so prepared. It says a lot about them as individuals. It says a lot about their high school programs, and it says a lot about Terry Smith and Deion Barnes to get them ready for this.
The other thing, the silver lining, if you will, with Max Granville's injury before the season even started, is you get to see what Chaz Coleman's all about, and then you may feel better about the defensive end position heading into 2026 than you would have if things were relatively normal. We might not even know much about Chaz Coleman if Max Granville doesn't get her or Zariah Fisher's 100% healthy. So I know it's not what we want to hear right now because we're all focused on 2025, but it makes you feel better as far as what would come down the pipeline in 2026 and beyond, which we're previewing 2025, so we'll stick mostly to that. One last defensive end note that I thought was interesting, Sean, is Franklin brought up Mason Robinson, a name that we haven't heard a ton of from James Franklin. Mentioned that, hey, straight up, quote, they're very high, end quote, on Mason Robinson, which when you hear that, that's like, that should be a red flag or ears should perk up if you're a Penn State fan and you hear anyone saying the staff is very high on somebody. That's like, hey, this guy is good, that has our attention. But then went on to say, but he's hasn't been consistently on the field. He's been dealing with some injuries of his own. So Mason Robinson, a name that I would maybe tuck away and pay attention to. And if you're, watching Penn State football games with some friends, maybe a name you throw out there early on in the year, but like, hey, if you see Mason Robinson, keep an eye on him. He might look like a genius come say October. So that one was a little bit of a surprise to me because I wasn't ready for name dropping of Mason Robinson.
Yeah, he's one of the guys they haven't talked a ton about yet. But he's a guy we really liked out of high school in recruiting. But again, like these guys are so young that we're talking about right now. And they're going to be asked to do things that, they're normally not asked to do. And, Zach actually brought up when we were talking, think about a guy like Malachi Goodman. And he mentioned him specifically that if this was in the past or other teams, he'd probably be starting. And I think you look at defensive end right now, there are a lot of guys that probably would be redshirting this year, maybe just barely burn the red shirt if just Max Granville is healthy and Smith Wilbert stays. Like not even getting Amin back. And if Abdul Carter decided to for whatever reason not go to the NFL, if just Smith Wilbert and Max Granville come back, I don't think a lot of these guys play, and now they're going to be asked to play bigger roles. But I think Deion Barnes has mostly earned our trust that he's going to have these guys ready, right?
I think so. I would agree with that. Just a couple other random notes that I thought were interesting. QB2, Sean, pretty much wrapped up. Franklin knows when his press conference is going to be, and he used the fact that he hasn't had a chance to speak with Ethan Grunkmeyer and Jackson Smolik as far as who would be number 2, despite knowing that he was going to be asked about it. So he could have easily had that private conversation beforehand, but he hadn't had it. But to be fair, Franklin has pretty much said, look, that we need a number 2 guy to get number 2 amount of reps. So they are going to have somebody. He expects that battle to continue. He's got to say those sort of things. It's going to be Ethan Grunkmeyer for the number 2. I don't think that's very much of a surprise to anybody.
I would be surprised if it wasn't. I think their praise of Jackson Smolik, though, because one thing I will give Franklin, while he's trying to keep all 3 of them here, obviously, he doesn't just dish out praise willy-nilly to people that don't deserve it. And I hate to talk bad about a guy, but what's his? Oh my God, I forget it. No, not him. Who's the 4th string quarterback? Beckham Kritza.
Oh.
He hasn't really said anything about Beckham Kritza, and I think it's because he's not doing much. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's not just going to dish out praise to Jackson Smolik if he didn't think he deserved it. So I believe everything he's saying. Like, I don't think he's lying per se, but I don't think he's lying at all. I think though he's trying to make everybody happy to stay because he still wants Jackson Smolik to be there, and who knows, Jackson Smolik might be the starter next year. So while he's trying to keep them all to stay, he's trying to make sure they all stay. He's also, I think, genuine in his praise. But yeah, I'd be shocked if it wasn't Gronk. And we're gonna see on Saturday, right? Whoever comes in for the most of the second half.
I mean, I'd be surprised if both of them don't play. Sean,
Smolik will probably play a little bit. Yeah.
Do you think that the starting quarterback for this is something John Sauber brought up on the Nittany Dispatch? We don't have to go too far now. I want a yes or no answer. Do you think the starting quarterback in 2026 is on our roster right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you?
I think so too. Yeah. He does not. So take that for whatever you will.
Kind of been Franklin's MO though. But if they don't feel great about either guy, yeah, they will go in the portal. But I think they do feel pretty good about Gronk.
Anything else in the press conference you wanted to bring up?
Shout out Rich Scarcella. For those of you who listened to the pod to their press conference for like ever, Rich Scarcella always goes first. Today, he is like the last guy to record, and he asked the backup quarterback question. Because he's Rich Scarcella, that's what he does. Like you said, he seemed very pretty upbeat. And yeah, I think we covered that pretty good, actually, Corey.
I think so
too. Steered the ship well there.
Thank you. All right, let's get into our position previews. Now, if you had watched us for previous years, I believe this would be technically our 3rd or 4th time doing this. This show is usually like 2 hours long. I don't expect it to be that long tonight. We are not going to dive. I think a lot of Penn State podcasts, for people that are listening to us have broken down each position group. I mean, Roar Lions Roar have been breaking it down literally since June. So we're gonna do it a little bit differently. Instead of specifically talking about every guy, every player on the team, we are going to attribute a ice cream flavor to that position that best defines or illustrates the depth of that position. So not necessarily like, hey, the number one guy is very good, but how we feel about the depth. Because, and Sean, I didn't really explain this to you. My thought process here is like, yes, Penn State's top guys are going to give them a chance to beat the top guys of any other team out there. But what separates the Georgias, the Texas, the Ohio States from a lot of the other teams is that they have the depth in the third and fourth quarter to win games, or they have the depth in a 17-game season to win the national championship. And so, in my opinion, the focus when we break down a team like Penn State is not to necessarily just talk about the Nick Singletons of the world, but also to talk about, the defensive end depth, the quarterback depth, and understand that what happens if one or two guys are out, what do they do at linebacker? So that's kind of the train of thought I had in going into this. It also will keep it a little bit shorter. And again, I think we weren't obviously ready to dive completely deep a couple weeks ago like we usually do getting ready for the season. So this is our kind of compromise as the season literally starts in less than a week. So, Sean, I will let you. I'm going to do this instead of going in order of offense or defense. I want you to choose like what you feel is your best flavor or best pairing, and you just kick us off.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start. We are linebacker U.
Okay.
And I'm gonna start with the linebackers, and I'm gonna start with the legendary Peachy Paterno.
Okay.
The linebacker. So my reasoning is, it's not. Have you had Peachy Paterno, Corey?
I have.
It's not for everybody.
No.
But if you like it, you'll love it. And it's definitely a throwback. Penn State is linebacker U. I feel like linebacker U is Paterno. So I felt like I had to pair them together because I feel very similar to how I do about these linebackers. If that makes sense. And I think when you talk about the depth that we have there, the one thing that the one thing that kind of shines bright is it's lacking. And Jim Knowles specifically talked about that and talked about how, Alex Tash, Keon Wiley, they show some things, but they're inconsistent. So I think Jim Knowles may not be a Peachy Paterno fan. But then if you feel decent about those younger guys, the Anthony Speccas of the world too, you're going to feel all right about these linebackers. So I'm going to go with Peachy Paterno there. It's kind of it's definitely an original way that we're going about this. But that's what I'm going to go with there.
Okay. Interesting. I agree with the sentiment because I went peanut butter swirl.
Okay.
But with a similar mindset, right? Like it's good up front. You like what's going on with the starters. But as you start kind of thinking about it more, it's like, well, maybe there could have been a little bit more peanut butter. Like, why isn't there a little bit of chocolate in there? Like there could have been a little bit more involved to feel good about the entire ice cream. I kind of feel the exact same way about the linebacking core. I feel good about some of the guys, but as you start, maybe the first bite of ice cream is good on it, but then you start thinking, you eat a little bit more, you're like, yeah, this is good, but maybe there could have been a little bit more here to offer. So
I used peanut butter swirl for another one.
Okay, good. I like that. I think that's like my favorite part. I'm going to go with one of my favorite ones, or ones that I think make the most sense. You know what? I have a better way to do this. You have to then, after I do mine, you need to do the one that you had for peanut butter swirl. That's how we'll get through these maybe.
Okay. All right. So for peanut butter...
But I got one for your Peachy Paterno.
All right, go ahead.
So I had the tight ends for Peachy Paterno. For kind of a similar reason to what you had as a linebackers. I think these tight ends is a tight end group that Paterno led team would be very proud of. Like Luke Reynolds, yeah, he's a little bit more of your modern day tight end, but Khalil Dinkins, Andrew Appleyea, Andrew Olish, like they've got some dogs. Joey Schlaffer, to not leave anybody out. They've got some guys on here that can block, and they will line up in a full house situation, and they will block you. And they're not afraid to throw a Vegawane in some sort of tight end like role as well. They have no problem lining up and blocking in order to set up the pass. Like you have to earn your snaps by blocking before you get a chance to catch the ball. And I think it's very peachy and it's fun with what they do with them, but also I think it's something that Paterno would agree with and be pretty impressed with, given some of the great. And like go back to Kyle Brady. Like Kyle Brady did a lot of blocking as well, but he was also very good as a receiver. So I think it fits that mold perfectly. That's why I had Peachy Paterno for the tight ends.
All right, very good. So for peanut butter swirl, I actually had the quarterbacks.
Okay.
So you start Drew Aller, kind of a similar thing to where you were going at there. Start with Drew Aller. I think most people feel at least now. I do think Drew Aller is one of those guys. If you go to a bar and ask 50 different people, you're going to get 50 different opinions. But I think the general consensus is he's a very good quarterback. But then beyond that, it's like, all right, how do we feel about Ethan Grunkemeyer? How do we feel about we just talked about him. What's his name? Jackson Smolik. How do we feel about these guys? So there's a lot of unknown there. And I think if you generally, first off, anything from the creamery, you generally trust with quarterbacks, but you go beyond, some of that, like you said, the first bite of ice cream. How are we really feeling about that after the first bite? And I can't say that I feel like, for example, I think if Drew Aller goes down, we ain't win a national championship. I don't think it's a very bold take. I think we could win some games. I think we could potentially win 10 games, but a national championship ain't happening.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'll go with my one for quarterback to keep it kind of going in that direction. I had bittersweet mint for the quarterbacks. And really it's bittersweet because I think the sweet part is obviously Drew Aller. The bitter part is what do you get after him, right? You got Jackson Smolik and Ethan Grunkemeyer hadn't played a whole lot. I think that's going to be some of the goals that they have as they head in these first 3 games. But you just don't exactly know what you're going to get out of them. And then the last part of the mint flavor thing that I really want to harp on here is, can Drew Aller be cool? Can he be cool and be a little minty, that. Right? Like, can he be cool under pressure? Excuse me. Can he, in my opinion, be poised enough to take this team to the next level, not have that Notre Dame interception? And so I think that to me is something that I'm not sure of yet, but is what I'm going to be looking for to see how much Drew Aller has actually improved this offseason.
I like that. So I also had a bittersweet mint.
Perfect.
And I went with the running backs. So background, I love bittersweet mint. It's my favorite ice cream flavor. And running backs are my favorite. Right up there, my top 2 ice cream groups. Top 2, you could depends on the day, is bittersweet mint. Obviously, I'm gonna you have the sweet in Nick Singleton. He is sweet. He is smooth to watch. And then you have the mint, which if you have enough mint in your mouth, you kind of have a cooler feeling, right? It could be a little, and having Kaytron Allen run at you, it's going to leave a bit of bitter taste in your mouth. So I went bittersweet mint. I like what they have behind them as well. I know that they, I think 3 of the backup running backs are out last week, but I think it doesn't seem like they're very concerned about that. I like what they have behind them with the depth. Love this running back room. So I went bittersweet mint with the running backs.
We thinking Cam Wallace is probably the 3rd guy right now?
I would say so. I know they really like Tyke Hayes. I don't think Tyke Hayes is going to end up leapfrogging the 2 guys that they have in front of them. But I know that they really, really like it. But if as long as Cam Wallace is good to go, of course, because I know he had a pretty nasty injury in the Kent State game last year.
Right. I'll stick with running backs. I had death by chocolate for the running backs. My personal favorite flavor, but pretty simple, right? Rich, potent, dependable for me, and also my favorite. I mean, I think a lot of people are talking about the running back, or excuse me, the offensive line, and the corners, and I think people are maybe forgetting how good the running backs are, and everyone's obviously talking about the wide receivers. But when it comes down to it, like, remove the creamery for a second. Like, if you're going to an ice cream shop and you don't know what you're gonna do, like, you can't go wrong with chocolate. And I guess what I'm trying to get at here is you can't go wrong with handing the ball off to Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. And so if I walk into the creamery and I don't, it's busy, I don't want to mess around all the people there. Hey, just give me a death by chocolate. I'm not going to ever complain with a death by chocolate ice cream. And so I'm never going to complain that they decide to give the ball to Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. I think good things are going to happen there. So that's who I had there. Sean, did you have anybody for the death by chocolate?
I did not.
So we've met an impasse.
I guess I gotta pick a new group.
I'm going to pick a new group.
All right.
As far as my favorite one. And I want to go, I got two, I think, really good ones here. I'm going to go with Monster Mash for the defensive line.
Oh, I never had Monster Mash at the creamery.
I haven't either, but I had to look up all their flavors. Some of them no longer are in stock, but it had all of their ever flavors.
Yep.
I think that, I don't know if there's a better flavor to describe the defensive line group than Monster Mash. Just the name alone. Forget about the necessarily the flavor profile, but Denai Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant are literally going to mash people, and I would consider them monsters. I posed a question on X the other day about Zane Durant. Is he the best defensive tackle since when, Sean? I was like Kevin Givens, like Jordan Hill, Austin Johnson, Daquan Jones, Devon Still. Like, where does he fall into like the more recent guys as far as stud? I think I'm honestly leaning towards like the Devon Still side of things.
I think he's right up there with Devon Still. I really like Anthony Zettel. I think Zettel was one of the more overlooked guys that we've had just because he was never on a really good team. Right. I would have loved to have him on this year's team. But yeah, Devon Still, he's up there with, and then the way he's being talked about, the last first round pick defensive tackle that we've had. Do you know that? Do you know who that is?
The last defensive tackle that was picked?
Yep.
And Zettel doesn't count. There's a more recent one than Zettel?
First round.
Oh, first round.
Yeah, the most recent one I think is Robert Windsor.
Oh, character guy right there. Defensive tackle. Gosh, they're probably all the way early 2000s, I assume.
Late 2000s.
Late 2000s.
Yeah, we've seen him play. Want a hint?
Yeah, give me a hint.
Dolphins.
What is that? Audric?
Jared Audric, yeah. I think it's potential. He has the potential.
Defensive end for some reason. I don't know why.
He played mostly end in the NFL. He was a 3-4 defensive end in the NFL. I kind of think that's his best position. If we ran a 3-4, I think he'd be even better at Penn State than he was. But yeah, I think he has that. Yeah, I think he has that upside. Now, completely different players in a lot of ways, but I think, can I see him being a first-round pick? Yes. I think in the NFL now, they're looking for those freaky guys that, and one of the things that I think hurt Zane Durant a little bit in the recruiting rankings was they're like, all right, he's very quick, but he's also 240 pounds. So how's he going to be when he has to bulk up to 280, 290? Well, he's just as fast and he's just as quick. So NFL teams are going to love that. And I think you could very easily see him being a first-round pick, at least a second-round pick.
Yeah. No, I love that. I just want to. Last thing I want to say about the defensive line, like, yeah, those two guys, Coleman, Harvey, Gilliam. Curious to see how Lonzo Ford does coming back. So I'm just, to me, the defensive line, and you and I are very agree on this completely. We talk about national championship teams. I think that's why we're probably a little scared about how good Clemson could potentially be, how good Texas could be, because they just have an arsenal at defensive line. Like, if Penn State wants to win a national championship, watching that group in the first month or two is really going to dictate everything, and to see how they sort of mature and how they grow. So that to me is the group to pay attention to, see how those young guys are. And anyway, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, so I'll go defensive line as well. And I'll go with chocolate pretzel crunch.
Crunch.
So, crunch. You know,
Crunch.
they're going to crunch a lot of people. You got to love the chocolate. I know you talked about Death by Chocolate. Can't go wrong with it. With the pretzels, though, it could be a little bit interesting. You have some questions. What kind of pretzels are they? What's the pretzel to ice cream proportions? So that's kind of my so very good base. It's just I have questions about what else you're putting in it, and we're gonna crunch people. So I kind of think defensive line that fits all that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's going to be a fun one to kind of see exactly that, right? How, I don't know why I'm like shaking a little bit there on my camera. Be curious to see where and how that sort of ends up and what that recipe looks like for success with that group. What did you have Monster Mash? You didn't have Monster Mash anywhere, correct?
I did not pick Monster Mash.
All right. So you go ahead and pick your next one, if you shall.
All right. Let's go. Oh, this is a fun one. Safety.
Okay, I did all DBs together. So if you broke them up, good for you.
Okay.
But I did not.
Okay. All right. So do you want me to just go with what I got?
Do safety. Yeah, do safety.
Okay. Yeah, because I kind of like this one. Grilled sticky ice cream.
Okay. So I had the DBs for grilled sticky.
Really? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So I went grilled sticky because it sounds really great, right? You have ice cream from the creamery and you have grilled stickies. What are they going to be like together, though? Like, they're probably going to be really good. But it's like, do these two things really mix? Like, if you ordered grilled sticky ice cream, or your friend did, you'd probably be like, huh, I am intrigued. I'm interested. But I might want to just stick with my bittersweet mint because I know what I'm going to get. And with the safeties, okay, Zakee Wheatley, we know he's going to be really good. But then Antoine Belgrave Shorter, they do a lot of the same things. Are they going to mix really well? And then how do we feel about everything behind them? So I think they're going to be really good. But I do have lingering questions about them, too.
That's interesting. So we chose that for completely different reasons.
Okay, yeah, let me hear your explanation.
I just went simple. I thought sticky, and I thought like stuck them, and I'm like, they're gonna have a lot of turnovers.
There you go.
So I just went straight up. Look, you got Zakee Wheatley, who has been notoriously known for his takeaways. Antoine Belgrave Shorter just had the most takeaways in the fall camp. I feel pretty good about their ability to take the football away. Now I put all the DBs together, but really, it really is a safety position specifically that I'm like, I feel pretty good that they're going to get some takeaways and they're going to have some grilled stickies maybe on the sideline after every turnover. Maybe we should recommend that to them instead of a turnover chain. They just go with some grilled stickies. Curious what you did for corner, because I didn't separate out corners, so that's my fault for not making that division. So you got a free one. You got a free shot on me, Sean.
All right. I did cookies and cream. Just kind of a throwback classic. You know it's going to be good. And there's some cookies and creams that are better than others. So maybe it won't be the all-time best cornerback room, but it's still good. You know what you're going to get with it. You know you're going to get a good ice cream. And I know we're going to have good corners this year.
Easy as that. Easy as that. I mean, we think Where are we? Just walk me through. We obviously AJ Harris starts. We think Elliott Washington starts on the boundary on the other side.
I think so. I think you're going to see a lot of what we saw in 22 when Johnny Dixon and Kalen King were kind of going back and forth. I think you're going to see them both quite a bit, kind of split time. And then, I mean, you still got Darius Dixon. You got all those guys that are even playing in the slot. So
yeah, and Zion Tracy, I think will probably start in the slot. I think.
I would say so. Yeah.
So I think Zion Tracy. When we think about guys who could be kind of difference makers, I think Zion Tracy has that explosiveness play to him that he just seems to have a nose for the football. I really think he is a guy that is just randomly going to make one or two big plays this season that could potentially save the entire season. So I'm curious to see how Zion Tracy's continue to develop, especially in the tackling side of things and getting a little bit more dirty. I think ball skill wise, he's already there. Competitive wise, he's already there. So I'm curious to see how he's developed.
Yeah. Zion Tracy is one of the big X factors on this team in general. And yeah, like you said, just consistency with tackling. He's going to be a big playmaker. Just look at the Ohio State game last year, having that pick six. Penn State ends up winning that game. That's probably right up there at the Grant Haley blocked kick. But instead, it's just going to kind of be a footnote on a rough afternoon. But Pepperidge Farms remembers.
Yeah, I also remember his blocking the back against Illinois, but I'm probably the only one that remembers that.
Mistakes were made. I remember jumping up and down and just going, no. Yeah. Because I was the most clear as day block in the back in history.
Shout out to Brian. Just said on YouTube, damn, I'm late. So it's okay, Brian. Glad you're here.
Okay.
Make sure to go ahead and like the video, and if you haven't subscribed, please make sure to do that. We're over this half-century mark, so we're moving in the right direction there. If you're watching live on YouTube, or even if you're listening on podcasts, hop on YouTube and subscribe there as well. All right, so we hit the corner and safeties. We both had grilled stickies there for the DBs, so we're back to even. So I guess I will go next. I think. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think I want to go. So we have special teams, wide receivers, and offensive line left.
Oh, I didn't do special teams.
Okay. So I got.
So you'll get one on me. Yeah, you'll get one on me then.
But I want to go with my favorite one next, and that is wide receivers. I have monkey business. Which again, I never had monkey business. And the only thing I wrote down for this one, because we never talk about the wide receivers on this show, I just said praying for no monkey business. Keep it really simple, right? Like, we know what they need to do. We don't need them to be great. We need them to be better. We need somebody to win a man coverage every once in a while. We need just a little bit more. It'd be nice if Devontae Ross can still take the top off with maybe a little bit of a higher percentage clip than Amari Evans can. We hope Trevor Pena can be some sort of, dependable, but also route running and after the catch mastermind. And then I think Kyron Hudson's probably going to be the safety blanket for Drew Aller. But we need them all to step up. We have some crazy bold predictions that we're going to get to at the end of the show tonight, which is not that far away. But the fans went crazy with the bold predictions as far as the wide receivers go. So we'll talk about that in a second. But no monkey business. Like the less that Liam Clifford plays on obvious passing downs, the better. Like, if Kobe Howard is the real deal, let's not keep him on the sideline just because he doesn't know special teams. Like, let's get the best guys out there and let's help Drew Aller out, because hate to say it, everybody, but this is most likely, unless something crazy happened, Drew Aller's last year. And if the story is written about Drew Aller's error as a error that had potential, but we never were able to surround him with enough weapons, that is going to literally drive me insane for the rest of my life. So I think Penn State did as best as they could this year. No monkey business. Hopefully your 5-star quarterback elevates those guys into something better, but they've got to step up and help along the way. So there you go.
For the receivers, I did coffee break.
Okay.
And that's because we just need them to give us a boost. Just give us something. Give us
a little something.
Yeah, like think about teams that win the national championship. Do any of them just kind of muddle through at receiver? Like it's just not really a thing. You know what I mean? You need your receivers at least to step up for you in big moments and make a few plays for you. That's all we really need, is them to just make a few plays for us down the stretch of some of these games. And that's really what I'm thinking. So I think we both went away from the flavors there and more so just thought what we need from these guys. And I think we just need them to give this team a boost.
Okay. I did not have coffee break. So please go to your, I guess you have offensive line left. So what do you have for offensive line?
Offensive line, I have chocolate chip cookie dough. It's the best ice cream flavor. They have maybe the best offensive line in the country. I think the best one since 1994. There should be an elite group. Chocolate chip cookie dough is an elite flavor. That and bittersweet mint are the two best, in my humble opinion. I didn't go with tight. Did you say your tight end group?
Yeah, so I had Peachy Paterno there. I don't know.
I don't think I said mine.
Oh. What'd you have for tight end?
Strawberry.
Because?
Classic, old school, reliable. Gonna be awesome. I got a chocolate vanilla strawberry. You've never had strawberry ice cream?
No. Don't think I've ever had in my life.
Do you like strawberry? Do you like strawberries in general?
I like strawberries.
Dude, you gotta have strawberry ice cream. Out of chocolate vanilla straw. Have you never had Neapolitan ice cream?
Where they have the chocolate vanilla.
Yeah.
Is it always strawberry there?
It's usually always strawberry, yeah.
I mean, I've been at parties where that was an option. I don't think I've ever just went for just a strawberry.
Interesting. Yeah, strawberries, like out of the classic flavor, strawberry is my favorite.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. To go back to your main point there about the offensive line, I mean, Franklin said today they think they have 7, potentially 8 guys that they can put in formation to do things with. So, and to use in personnel packages. So they're going to get a lot of those guys out there, and we'll see how good they really are. I mean, look, I think it's good that the offense line has confidence because they have really never had this much confidence. But I'm also hopeful they still have a little bit of an edge and they still knock people off the ball. So I'm not really worried about it, but I agree with you. I had vanilla for them just because, in my opinion, like it doesn't matter what you add to it. Like at the end of the day, the offensive line, especially as good as this offensive line is going to be, you can add other things if you want. But at the end of the day, kind of going back to like Andy Kotelnicki's whole like Blizzard metaphor, like your base is still your offensive line. Everything has to go through your offensive line. And this is an offensive line that you can run your offense through, unlike previous years. Shout out John Donovan. So I think you lean into that, right? Like all the other flavors are fun, but you can just have vanilla and you should be able to win most of your games. And they have vanilla with this offensive line.
I like it. What do you have for special teams?
Special teams, I had, and I'm going to knock on some wood here to not jinx this. I had Arboretum Breeze.
Never had it.
Never had it either. There's some crazy flavors if you go look. I mean, most of them are not in stock, but they got some crazy flavors there. Very simple here. We don't talk a lot about special teams on this show. Tyler Dzansky back at long snapper. Ryan Barker back at kicker. Riley Thompson back at punter. Justin Lustig did a great job as well, and he's back. They are hopefully it's just going to be as simple and easy as a breeze, right? There's not going to be any problem here. Things are going to be simple. We're going to coast. Barker's going to kick and make his field goals. Thompson's going to pin people deep. Dzanski's going to do a good job. We'll have a couple fun little special teams plays and trick plays in there. It's going to be a breeze, and life is going to be good. I also, not a bold prediction, just going to throw out there. Franklin said today Nick Singleton's still going to be back there. Someone kick return. I think Singleton takes another one back this year. I really do. So I think Aubrey and breeze, it's going to be a breeze when it comes to special teams this year. Very excited about it. Very consistent. Knock on wood.
I think all you really want from special teams is for it to just be a breeze. Just kind of grin and bear it. And if you get something out of it, all the better.
Right. That's exactly what I'm thinking. So there you have it. That was a different way. I guarantee you nobody else broke down the position groups like that at any other podcast discussing Penn State football or probably any football this year. So there you go.
We are not sponsored by the Creamery, but we will accept.
No, but I might go find another ice cream place for next year. We have bold predictions to get to, Sean. And then we're going to get to our season predictions. And then we are going to get out of here. Before we get to our bold predictions, man, I don't know why I'm not having an earthquake here, I promise you. I'm shaking a little bit on the webcam. I wanted to go to some of the fan bold predictions here because we had a decent amount of them. So I want you to see some of these. See if I can get there we go. All right. So here's some bold ones, Sean. You tell me how bold they are and if they're kind of crazy. All right. I'm going to run through these relatively quickly. Mudbug, which I'll get to that in a second about the pick'em. But Mudbug says Penn State goes into the shoe and beats the Buckeyes by 15 plus points.
That is very, very bold. I won't say crazy because I could see a world that it happens. I'll say 8 or 9.
Okay.
10, you're just straight up delusional. And I don't think it's delusional to think that Penn State can win by a couple scores against Ohio State. Ohio State's breaking their new quarterback. Penn State is going to be really good this year, so I could see a world, but that's a lot of points.
Yeah. Florida PSU guy says Kobe Howard is the leading wideout on the team in terms of yards and touchdowns.
That is a 9.5.
Okay. Lucas Powers, longtime listener, says Nick Singleton will finish higher in the Heisman than Drew Aller.
That's a 5 or 6. I think that's mild.
I don't think Drew Aller finishes that high is my thing.
Yeah, he probably doesn't because this is going to be a run-first team. Like, I would like to see where Blake Corum finished in Heisman voting compared to J.J. McCarthy. I'm almost certain Blake Corum finished ahead of him. And I think this is going to be a similar style offense.
Let's flip that the other way. Kewen Crawford said Drew Aller wins the Heisman.
That's about a 9.
Yeah, me too. I reiterated this on X. If Aller's in the running for Heisman, something terrible happened to the Penn State running game.
Yeah, I just think you consider who Kotelnicki is. He's kind of a run-first guy, I think, by nature. Unless, maybe Drew Aller becomes what nickname was Franklin giving him? Lamar Aller? Yeah, unless he becomes that, which I don't envision happening. Lamar Aller, that's what it was. Unless something like that happens, I don't see it happening. So I just don't think it's the kind of offense that he's going to win the Heisman. And doesn't mean he can't be a really, really good quarterback or be one of the best in the country, but I just don't think he's going to have the stats to do it.
Again, well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Einstein von Braun, Mr. Vega Ione will have a touchdown reception.
I'll go 6.5, 7. Okay. Kotelnicki loves to play, and so does Cory, where Vega goes in motion. I got to think at some point maybe they pull it down, send him out for a pass. That'd probably be where it is.
Well, Einstein von Braun said exactly that, and I just responded with, "You're assuming that they run that personnel group again."
I think they probably will. They ran it a lot last year. They ran it almost once a week at least.
We'll see. Matty Ice says Chaz Coleman leads the team in sacks.
It's about a 7.5, I think. I don't think.
Which is crazy because I think like a month ago we would say that's a 9.5. You know what I mean?
I would have said it was a 10. I'd be like,
Yeah.
no, that ain't happening. But they really love the guy. I just think Nittany. I'd be shocked if anybody had higher than Nittany. I think Nittany gets a little underrated for his pass rushing ability. And not to mention, we're going to have Zane Durant. And hell, Mark Campbell had 5.5 or 6 sacks at North Carolina.
This is from Coke and Master 1. They lose one game in the regular season, win the Big Ten, then go on to win the Natty. It's been 40 damn years since they hoisted a Natty trophy. That streak ends here. And then he says, even though they were robbed in 1994, fuck Tom Osborne. So there you go. Appreciate that one.
It's both, but it's not crazy.
All right. Ryan, you have to do a little math here. 4 wide receivers / tight ends surpass 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. No receiver has more than 600 yards, and Nick Singleton outpaces Fat Man by more than 300 rushing yards. So let's break that one down. I'll help you out here. He says 4 wide receivers or tight ends are going to be above 400 yards. I think that's reasonable-ish.
It could happen.
The 5 touchdowns, I had to go back and look. I don't know if Penn State's ever had 4 different wide receivers / tight ends have 5+ touchdowns in the same season. Because I went back to 2005 and 6. I thought maybe around there. But like, even then, Deion Butler had like 9. Derek Williams had like 2 receiving and a bunch of rushing. Like, I don't think that Jordan Orbit had like a couple, but like not even 5. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
Yeah, that's 20 touchdowns between 4 guys. That's a lot.
And so he broke it down for me. He said Kobe Howard has 5, Luke Reynolds has 6, Pena has 7, and Kyron Hudson has 5. I was like, okay, that's fine. So that's 23 touchdowns. But I'm like, what about Nick Singleton? What about Khalil Dinkins? What about Katron Allen? What about Rapplier, Devontae Ross, Tysier Denmark? There's a lot of players for the ball to go. And again, assuming that the starters are in that much, like I find that one very bold.
What was the Katron Singleton thing?
Oh yeah, so that one was Singleton will have 300 more yards than Katron.
I think they're going to be pretty even too. I could see it because there could be more home run possibility for Nick Singleton. Yeah. But just historically speaking, they're usually pretty close to each other. And I think it's going to be a similar thing this season as well. They do a good job. Stan Drayton's going to be, because I think the Jaywan Sider decides a lot about position groups and who plays when. I imagine Stan Drayton's going to have a similar philosophy though, as far as splitting them, because that's the best way that works. But yeah, overall that take is probably about an 8.5.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan, for that. This one's from Dorito Bandit, longtime fan of the show. Deny Dennis Sutton breaks a single season sack record at Penn State, and he has 3 against Nevada.
What's the sack record exactly?
Was it 19? What did Carl Nassif have?
Like 15, I want to say. Yeah, I'd have to get the sack record. I would still say that's pretty bold. Especially since he's going to draw a lot of double teams. Probably not as many as you think, because Zane Durant's going to be there, and you can't double team 2 guys, 15.5. And really, to be honest with you, I don't know if I really want him having 15.5 sacks, because then I'm like, well, are we getting other production from the other guys rushing the passer?
I'd be okay with
that. Are the better teams just going to double him in the playoffs and then make everybody else beat them? And I kind of worry a little bit about that.
Michael Haynes, by the way, had 7 forced fumbles in 2002. Carl Nassib had 6 that year in 2015, so he almost broke 2 records that year. A little fun fact for you.
Michael Haynes was a great player.
Dorito Bandit came in super late, and he just got to hear his bold prediction. So like he just hopped in at the perfect time. Thank you for hopping in, Dorito Bandit. Make sure you've liked the show. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks. Ben Carrington said, win the Natty. My gut is telling me 11-1, getting bounced in the semifinals. Got to do it for me to get super excited. So thank you, Ben. How about Instagram Dan? Singleton and Allen run for 1,000 yards plus each, and 3 pass catchers record over 600 yards in the regular season. So that would be 1,800 yards between 3 players.
Who would the 3 players be, I wonder? So you would say probably one of the tight ends.
Yeah, that part to me is hard because like
Ross and Pena, I guess.
I would go Hudson before Ross just because of the injury. I don't know what bumps and bruises mean.
Yeah, but I think Ross because he's going to give you more vertical. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Maybe it is Pena, Ross. Dude, I would honestly take a running back before I would take a tight end. Like I think Singleton could get 600 yards more likely than say a Dinkins or a Reynolds. Just because I think
tight end's just going to split up.
I think Reynolds. I could see Reynolds, Rapplier, Dinkins all be around 450 or something stupid like that pretty easily. Probably not 450 each, but right around 250 to 450.
Yeah, I think they're all getting above 300. I don't think that's crazy to say. And that's a lot for a tight end group for 3 guys to get over 300 yards receiving. It's quite a bit.
Yeah. So that's a good one, though. It's funny because when Mark Thomas also said all 3 portal wide receivers haul in 5+ touchdowns. So that's another person that is with that 5 touchdowns.
I actually like that one.
Penn State's never had 3 guys have 5+ touchdowns.
Well, everything changes at some point, Corey.
The only thing I'm going to think of, the only season I didn't think of until right now was 2016. And even then, I bet it wasn't.
Think about it too, Corey. We're playing more games now. Like, we're not playing a 12, 13-game season anymore. So, I think that could happen. I like the 3 guys get 5+ touchdowns. I think at a certain point, there's like 4. Like, I think somebody said 4 guys get 5+ touchdowns. I think that's too many. But could I see the 3 guys doing it? Yeah, I could.
So in 2016, Chris Godwin had 11. Mike Gesicki had 5. Saquon had 4. Blacknall had 3. 2016, Deshaun Hamilton only had 1 touchdown. DeAndre Tompkins only had 1 touchdown. That's kind of surprising to me. Like if you would have told me that Andre Robinson had the same number of touchdowns in 2016 as Deshaun Hamilton, I would have been like receiving. Actually, Andre Robinson had 3 total touchdowns that year compared to Deshaun Hamilton's 1. So there you go. Just like we'd all would remember. I'm sorry. Andre Robinson had 6 that year from the line of scrimmage. So anyway, point being, even in 2016, the last time really the offense had a good pulse in the passing game. Godwin, NFL caliber receiver. Mike Gesicki, NFL caliber tight end. Saquon Barkley, MVP running back in the NFL, and they still couldn't get it done.
What about 17? Gesicki, Hamilton, Saquon.
I will look. Let's check.
Because I gotta say, Saquon probably had pretty close to 5 receiving touchdowns.
All right, in 2017, Mike Gesicki 9 touchdowns. Deshaun Hamilton 9 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley 3.
Only 3? I felt like he had so many more.
Yep, he had 21 from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, like I knew he ran for a bunch, but I remember like the Pitt play.
Georgia State
was and the Michigan game. Yeah, I think those were his 3 touchdowns. I remember all of them like super clearly too. So I just assumed he had 2 more.
Yeah, no. So even that year, unable to do it. So there you go. That's why I think 5 is a little bit high. But
Yeah.
what do I know? I mean, I know a lot, but what do I know?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for your bold predictions. We appreciate that, keeping the show fun. I always like interacting with you guys, so I appreciate you guys doing that. Sean, I have no idea who did the bold predictions to start the season last year. I will, being as gracious as I am, would you rather go first on the bold prediction, or would you rather go first for the regular season prediction or the season prediction? I'm going to be
I'll
nice
go
and let
first
you.
here.
Yeah, I figured you would do that.
Yeah, all right. I'm going first here. So my season predict. This was hard for me to do because my season prediction. Well, I'll get to that.
Just
But
give me your bold, then I'll give my bold.
yeah, so bold prediction: offense is going to be better than defense. Really like this offense coming in. I know the defense. There's some people saying it could be the best defense in the country. I don't really buy that, to be completely honest. So I think it could be a top 10 defense, though. I do. But I think it's going to be a top 10 offense, and I think it's going to be closer to top 5 offense. And that's the power of an elite offensive line. And this is going to be a team. I think their identity is going to be that offensive line. Like when people remember this team, it's going to be that offensive line play, kind of similar to 1994 team. That was just power. People talk about Kajana and Bobby Ingram, Kerry Collins, but that offensive line powered that team, and that's what this team is going to be. So I think the offense is going to be better than the defense. Top 5 offense, top 10 defense.
I was going to say it's hard to hold you to that because it's not like I can necessarily prove you wrong, but I think we'll have a pretty good idea if that's true or not at some point this year.
Yeah, and we could just even go by the stats, like total offense versus total defense, scoring offense versus because it could be subjective too, where you just be like, actually, technically, I was right, but I'm not gonna be like that. I'll go by the stats.
I mean, we know last year the defense is better than the offense, so
yeah, like they passed the looks test, and at the end of the year, I'm not gonna be like, well, according to my looks test, the offense was better than the defense. The offense is like 20th, and the defense is like 5th. I'll be like, well, no, it was not. So we'll be able to look at total offense, total defense, and be able to tell you.
All right. My bold prediction, and I might sound like a little bit of a hypocrite here, because I think I was talking about this the other day, at least on X, and I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I'm like, it's time for this to happen. So my bold prediction is that Drew Aller will set the new single-season passing touchdown record, which is set at 29. I think he breaks that this year. Set by Trace McSorley. I think that is I think that's a good number. I think, honestly, if you tell me Drew Aller throws more than 29 touchdown passes, I feel pretty good about Penn State's chances. I think even if he throws he threw 8 interceptions last year, let's assume he throws even 1 or 2 more. If he throws 30-plus touchdowns, I think Penn State's in a really good shape. Now, I'm not going to go as far as some folks were saying on X that he would throw 40-something touchdowns. But I think he breaks the single-season record, and he is over 29 touchdown passes. I don't think he's going to have, 1 or 2 individuals that carry it. I think it's going to be a very, very kind of shared wealth here. I could see Nick Singleton having 4. I could see the tight ends each having 3. I could see each of the receivers having like 3. Maybe even Leaving Clifford gets in there. It gets 1 or 2 himself. So I'm going to go with Drew Aller setting a new single-season touchdown passing record. We'll just say it's going to be 30-31 would be if I have to put a number to it. And I think if that's the case, I think Penn State gives them a decent shot to potentially win a national championship. Potentially, if that happens. If it doesn't happen, which hint, hint, nudge, nudge, it's a bold prediction for a reason. I don't necessarily know that that's a guarantee. But if he's able to do that, you got to feel that the running game is going to be there. And if he's able to do that, it's going to keep that threat of the running game. The threat of the passing game is going to keep the running game going. You got to feel like the offense would lead very well into your bold prediction that the offense is doing better than the defense. So We'll see. I've been
Yep,
pretty good
I
at my
like
bold
it.
predictions over the years.
Yep, I like it. All right, you ready for season predictions?
Yeah. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first if you want.
Okay.
Would you rather I go first?
No, I don't care. I really don't.
I don't care either. All right.
Okay, then I shall go. Okay, season prediction time. The moment everyone's been waiting for, because we're gonna, everyone's gonna hold us to this for the rest of the year. Let me just start by saying we've had this conversation on the show many times over the years. I'm maybe a little bit more pessimistic about this than other people, but I don't think Penn State will ever be a sustained perennial in the national champion hunt program year in and year out. I don't think they're going to ever be able to reload the way Ohio State reloads, the way Texas is going to start reloading, the way Alabama and Georgia have begun to reload. I really think they're going to be more like Clemson, where they have a couple of years and they have like a window opportunity to be successful. And then they're going to probably have to wait another year or two before they are ready to go at it one more time. And that's very quarterback dependent, obviously, because that can change everything, especially when you get somebody like Trevor Lawrence. So that being said, like, in my opinion, we have no idea what's going to happen in 2026. The window is now for Penn State. The window was a little bit last year as well, but the window is now on offense for Penn State. We talked a little bit on the show tonight about how they've finally surrounded some weapons with Drew Aller the best they could. They have the best offense line they've had under James Franklin. They have experience and talented running backs to support Drew Aller. This is the opportunity to get it done. And if they don't get it done, it's not like it's the end of the world. But just because let's say they get to the national championship, like, I don't think it's fair to expect them to reload and be back in it year in and year out competing for a national championship. I don't think they're ever going to drop out of like the top 10, but I don't think it's fair to just assume that they're going to be knocking on the doorstep every single year until it happens. And so they need to take advantage of it. And I think everybody in the last building knows that, and they understand that. I saw Drew Aller has to take one class this fall because he's pretty much ready to graduate, so that's cool. Like, all of the chips have been moved to the center of the table, and we've got pocket aces. Don't know what everyone else has, but we're going to play that hand to the very end. And if we lose, we're at least we're going to go home putting it all on the line. So the schedule works out very nicely for Penn State. Oregon at home after a bye week before Ohio State. The only other real competition is maybe at Iowa, Indiana, Nebraska. Can't be any more favorable that, especially in the year 2025 with these mega conferences. So things worked out very well there. This is a great opportunity, especially where the bye weeks lie. I think Penn State has to go 11-1. I think that has to happen. I think we're beyond talking about 10-2. If you haven't put money on Penn State going plus 10.5, I think you're crazy, because I think they're gonna get to 11 wins. The question is, do they go undefeated? Whatever it is, no, I don't think they go undefeated. I think it's very hard to go undefeated. I think not only do you have to be very good, but you have to get a little lucky as well, and you have to stay injury free. And I just think somebody comes up and bites them. You and I think we're gonna have the same predictions. But you and I have always talked about it. I can't take Penn State to beat Ohio State until they do it, until they prove me otherwise. And although Ohio State is reloading a lot of things, they still have the best player on offense, and they still have the best player on defense. And Penn State has to go on the road into Columbus. So I have Penn State going 11-1, beating Oregon, beating Iowa, beating Indiana, beating Nebraska, but I have them losing to Ohio State. Potentially going to the Big Ten championship. I don't even know necessarily who they play there. Whatever happens there, I do think that they would get into the playoff, and I don't know if they would have a bye necessarily. I don't know how that all would work out. I haven't looked at it that hard. But I do think Penn State makes it to the national championship, and I've seen a lot of people like stop there with their prediction, or even some people say they get there and they lose. It's a window for me too. And not very many times on this show, Sean, I get to say that I think Penn State's going to win a national championship. I think Penn State's going to win a national championship. I think they learn something from their mistakes. They have the offensive line depth to carry them deep into January, and they have the ability to run the ball. And being able to run the ball is going to matter. Ask Notre Dame and ask Georgia in the playoff last year. Ask Notre Dame when they were able to eventually wear out Penn State enough to win that game on the ground. I think Penn State, a very similar sort of recipe that Michigan and Ohio State have used. Lots of experienced guys, a lot of good running backs. They're going to figure out a way to win a national championship after how many years? Bring it back to Happy Valley.
All right. Very nice. Okay, so
so you've gone first.
I mean, all right. So this will probably, I do think this is going to be the best Penn State team probably of our lifetime. I was born in 95, right after the 94 team. So Cory was born a couple of years after me. So age after beauty, I suppose, here in these predictions. So I think this team, when you look at the first thing that stands out to me is the balance. And it seems like they have a little bit of everything. And even like in the criticisms we have, it's mostly like nitpicking the backups, because this preview show is different than in previous years where we're like, oh yeah, the starters are going to be fine. And that's such a luxury to have. Like, I don't think people, I think now that we've had success, we don't realize how much of a luxury that is to just be like, but yeah, the starters are good. It's just about depth. Like, that's such a big step up on literally 98% of programs, maybe 99. And I think with that, and you look at the balance, you look at the experience that we have and the young guys, I think you got to feel great about this team. And, going through the schedule, I think we get through September unbeaten. I think Penn State ends up beating Oregon by about 10 points. I think it's kind of our statement game, kind of put boots to asses a little bit. And Penn State wins that, not a blowout, but I think they win by 10 to 13 points. And people walk out of that going, Penn State might be the best team in the country. Then October, I think we get through. The UCLA game scares me a little bit. I think I could see us after a big win against Oregon. I could see us struggling a little bit out there, but I think we end up pulling it out, by a few scores as well. I think Iowa, it's Kinnick. I know Cory will roll his eyes at the Iowa thing, but it's a real thing. But I think we exercise some of our demons there from 2021. I think they get through October. I do think they lose to Ohio State. It's just one of those things. When we beat them, we beat them. And I just got to see it first. So that gets us to 11-1. I do think we end up beating Indiana, even though I'm a little nervous for that one too, but I think we get through. I think they probably go to Indy. If there's three, that's why it's so hard to predict, because if Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State, or Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, or however you want to do it, are all 11-1, I have no idea how those tiebreakers. Illinois could go 11-1 too. I don't know how that's going to go. I think they make the playoffs. I think they're going to be one of the top 4 seeds. And I think they get to the national championship. But guys, it's Ohio State there. And what does Penn State do to Ohio State? They lose. But not this time. Penn State beats Ohio State to win the national championship. Then that is how we get the Ohio State monkey off our back.
That would be, monkey business that I would be okay with.
Yes, granted, I had a little fun with that last part, but I do think I am predicting a little bit with my heart, but I have logic to back it up too. Like the last 2 teams that started the year AP number 2 won the national championship. We're a very experienced roster. We've won a lot of big games. We've also lost, and you can learn a lot from losing. You could learn. you could learn a lot about yourself. You could have a lot of self-reflection. And I think they're going to be better for it, for how last year ended. I think last year ended, and I think they're still pissed about how that all went down.
Absolutely.
And I still am too. And I think this is going to be the year of exercising demons. And I think they're going to do it. A little bit of that. And yeah, I think they're going to do it this year, guys. And I feel like I wouldn't be a true fan to pick us to go to the national championship and lose. So I think they're going to do it. I also think top to bottom we're a better team than Ohio State. I think we could take it to them running the ball. I think we could do it in Columbus too. I think we could absolutely win in Columbus, but it's just something always happens there. And the other thing is it's hard to beat a good team twice. And I kind of think if we end up winning at Ohio State, I'm going to have that in the back of my head. Like, what if we play these guys again? We have to beat them twice. And I think Ohio State's going to have that same thing. Like, what if we have to beat these guys again? Because I still think both games are going to be very, very close. It's hard to beat a really good team twice in a year. And I think Penn State ends up beating Ohio State to win the Natty.
Yeah, Josh Pate had Penn State beating Oregon twice, once in regular season, once in the Big Ten, and then losing to Oregon in the playoff, which would absolutely make me lose my mind if we had to play Oregon three times.
Who'd he have?
Can you imagine beating? What's that?
Who'd he have winning?
Alabama.
Okay.
Now, the other thing too is obviously it didn't happen last year, unless I'm mistaken. No team. There hasn't been a repeat yet in the 12-team playoff. I don't think so. That would be really annoying if we happen to end up playing the same team three times, because that is very possible with either Oregon or Ohio State this year. In fact, you could argue the way it's shaping up, and I know we haven't even kicked off yet, but Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State, you can almost like assume there's going to be a rematch at some point, whether it's the Big Ten championship or the playoff.
Yeah, it happened last year, right? Oregon played Ohio State again.
Wait,
didn't work out too well for the Ducks.
Oh yeah, they did play. I forgot they played.
Oregon actually beat them in Eugene.
Yeah, that was
Ohio State learned some lessons.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a technicality on the whole sliding thing, but yeah.
I was very happy to see sad Will Howard, though.
I like seeing sad Will Howard. Before we get out of here, I am going to say this on the podcast, so I have to do it immediately after we end the show. I'm going to get the Big Ten Pick'em out and live. So that will be out live probably when you listen to this, except for the handful of folk we have watching live. So give me a handful of minutes. It will be in the YouTube bio. It will be out on the Xaverse, and you'll be able to find it on there as well. But I'm going to get that out, and we're going. So I don't want to hear it. People saying, "Oh, I didn't know." That means you're not listening to the podcast. That means you're not following us on Twitter. I mean, figure it out, people. We are live. I mentioned it like a week ago. So what you should be doing is hitting the little bell on our X, and I think that lets you know every time we tweet, which is what you should have it set up as anyway. So that's going to be out and about. And then Zach from Locked On. I always do that. Locked On Nittany Lions.
Penn State
will be on the show Wednesday night. And then Sean just was on their show. He doesn't even remember the exact name.
Hold on. Great. Locked On Nittany Lions. You're right.
I thought it was Nittany Lions. All right. And then I'm going to join him on hopefully Thursday or Friday. So happy to do that home and home with him. And anyway, we'll be back later. That's Sean Kane. I'm Cory Listoki. You've been watching and listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. Both Sean and I have Penn State winning the national championship. Can't wait to be called a bunch of homers. Until Wednesday, we will be previewing Nevada. Anyway, we'll be the Wolfpack. We'll be previewing them on Wednesday. Until then, make sure you've liked the video, you've subscribed wherever you're listening.